A millionaire took a homeless woman to his ex-fiancée's wedding, and what she did shocked everyone. Nobody understood a thing when Jack pulled up to the church in his Maserati and stepped out with a woman in a blazing red dress, borrowed heels and eyes that burned like fire. Her name? Larissa. Back straight, chin high. She walked like that altar was her stage. The murmurs of high society were sliced into silence like a hot knife through butter. Ruth, the bride, turned pale. The guests? Speechless. Some swallowed hard, others whispered without even trying to hide it. Who is she? Jack walked like he was modeling vengeance. Half smile, razor-sharp stare. It was clear. He wasn't there to attend. He came to make a scene. Larissa moved slowly, deliberately, like she knew exactly what ground she was walking on. Not a single stumble, even under the weight of hundreds of eyes sizing her up. Each step echoed through the marble like gunshots. The elite's eyes were daggers, but she didn't blink. In her hand, a black clutch, and inside, something no one would expect. At the reception, the tension skyrocketed. Waiters fumbled trays, the band missed notes. Ruth tried to keep her composure, but the tightness in her shoulders betrayed the chaos inside. Jack toasted with strangers, pretending to be light-hearted. But his eyes never left Ruth. Larissa? She moved like a chess piece, watching, calculating, listening. And then, it happened. Right in the middle of the speeches, just as the bride's father was praising the honor of the family, Larissa stood up. "Excuse me," her voice sliced through the room. Everyone turned. "I just wanted to say, 10 years ago, a man went to prison for a financial move that saved this family from bankruptcy. That man was my father." Boom. Silence. Someone dropped a glass. Ruth jumped to her feet, white as chalk. "She's lying," she shouted, but no one seemed to hear her anymore. All eyes were on Larissa, as if she'd just torn the veil off the truth. Jack, frozen, like he knew, but not everything. Larissa didn't smile. She didn't cry. She simply handed back the microphone, turned slowly, and locked eyes with a man in a grey suit sitting in the back. A private investigator, a journalist, no one knew. But something in his eyes said, "This is far from over." Hey, before we dive deeper into this wild story, I need to give you a quick heads up. A lot of subscribers have been saying that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Just take a second to check that red button below and make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content coming your way. And since you're here, smash that like button. It helps me a ton with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments what city are you watching from. I love getting to know the amazing people who are part of this community. Your interaction means everything. Let's connect. The man in the grey suit stood up, tall, cold eyes, jaw clenched. He walked toward Larissa slowly, each step heavy as stone. No one dared move. The room was frozen. Even the whispers disappeared. Jack took a step forward. "Who are you?" he growled, voice tight. The man pulled a thick envelope from his jacket and held it out. "I'm a court officer. I have a summons for you, Jack." Larissa turned her head, shocked. Jack stood frozen. His hand trembled as he took the envelope. He opened it, read it, and went pale. "This is insane," he muttered. "Is it true?" Larissa whispered, eyes wide. Jack took a deep breath, lowered the envelope, looked straight at her. "It is." Silence again. The truth hit like a punch to the gut. Jack wasn't the heir to any fortune. He was the accountant, the one who covered up the fraud that saved Ruth's family. He was paid to hide the evidence, and that so-called inheritance, it never existed. It was all smoke and mirrors. "You knew," Larissa said, her voice tight, her throat closing. "You knew what they did to my father, and you helped cover it up?" "Not at first. And then it was too late," he stammered. "But I fell in love with you. That part's real." Larissa took a step back. Her face lost all color. "You used me to bury your guilt." "No," Jack shouted. But it was too late. She was already walking away. Then, boom, a deafening blast tore through the hall. Glass shattered. A scream. Someone collapsed. A waiter was bleeding from the side. Panic erupted. People ran. Chairs flew. Ruth vanished into the chaos. Larissa ran to the wounded man. The shot had come from outside. Jack, still in shock, stared at the envelope on the floor at the back of the hall. The private investigator, because by now it was clear that's exactly what he was, pulled out a photo and handed it to Larissa. He's back, the one truly responsible for your father's fall. And he's not happy you stirred the past. Larissa looked at the photo. Her eyes widened. He died in an accident. He didn't. He faked it. And now he's erasing loose ends. Jack tried to come closer, but Larissa turned her back on him. You have no idea what you started, Jack. This isn't just about revenge. It's about survival. Suddenly, one of the waiters leaned in and whispered something in Larissa's ear. She froze. Are you sure? She asked, her voice shaking. He nodded. Larissa locked eyes with Jack for a moment. Then she whispered, Ruth wasn't the target. I was. The room was a war zone. Sirens wailed in the distance. Shouts echoed. Broken glass everywhere. And in Larissa's head, only one thought kept repeating. I was the target. Jack tried to approach again, but Larissa recoiled like he was fire. The waiter who had whispered to her, gone, vanished into the crowd like he never existed. The detective grabbed Larissa's arm. I need to get you out of here. You're in the crosshairs. But before they could move, a new voice sliced through the air. Sharp, cold, familiar. Not so fast. Everyone turned. Ruth, standing at the altar, veil torn. Blood on her face, but not her own. In her eyes, a mix of fury and triumph, and in her hands, a pistol. Surprised Larissa. Total silence. Jack stepped forward. Ruth, what are you doing? She laughed, but it wasn't a normal laugh. It was dry, hollow. You think I didn't know? You really thought I was going to let this farce happen? She thought she could humiliate me in front of everyone. But the one who's going to fall is her. A chill ran down Larissa's spine. You destroyed me. You planned all of this, she shouted. You stole the life that was mine from the beginning. Ruth spat back. But the most ironic part is that you don't even know who you are. Larissa froze. What do you mean? She asked, breathless. Ruth smiled. Ask Jack. Every eye turned toward the former millionaire. He was trembling, sweating. Jack? Larissa whispered. He hesitated, then lowered his head. Yes, you're the daughter of the man who went to prison. But you're also the daughter of the woman who orchestrated everything. Larissa went pale. My mother died when I was a child, she whispered, barely audible. She didn't, Jack said, eyes shut. She's alive, and she's the woman behind the entire operation. The mastermind, the one who destroyed your father. She used you as bait. From the very beginning. Larissa stumbled. The floor disappeared. The air vanished. Ruth lowered the gun. That's right. You thought you were the Avenger, but you were just a pawn. A puppet of the woman who hates you most. Tears burned in Larissa's eyes, but she didn't cry. She stood frozen, shaking. The detective stepped in. There's more, Larissa. The woman who planned all of this, your mother, she's here, in this room. Screams, chaos, heads turned, everyone looking around. Larissa's eyes darted, scanning the crowd, but everything felt like it was spinning. Then, in the far corner of the hall, a figure rose, slender silhouette, elegant posture, dark hat, oversized sunglasses. Larissa froze. The woman slowly removed her sunglasses, her eyes the same color, the same fire, the same intensity. Hello, Larissa, she said softly. Mommy's home. Larissa stood still, locked on that woman who looked like a twisted reflection of herself. That voice, that way of speaking, each word ripped the ground out from under her. You can't be my mother," she said, throat tight. The woman smiled. "You have no idea what I can be." Ruth stepped away slowly, the gun still in her hand, but her gaze now empty, like the entire war had just lost its meaning. Jack was still trying to process it, repeating silently to himself, "This can't be real." The woman, Larissa's mother, walked toward her. "I kept you alive for a reason, daughter. You were the perfect bait, raised far away, with no memory, you grew up believing a lie, while I shaped the world for the truth." Larissa's chest tightened. A bitter taste climbed up her throat. "Why?" The woman stepped closer, eyes locked. "Because you are the key. The blood in your veins is the only thing stopping justice from being done. And now that you know who you are, you'll have to choose a side." Jack stepped forward carefully. "Larissa, don't listen to her. She's manipulating you. She destroyed your father. She destroyed everything. Her father." The woman turned to Jack, venomous smile curling. "You still haven't told her, have you, that the man she believes was her father was a lie too?" Larissa snapped her head toward Jack. "No." Jack opened his mouth, stuttered, stopped, lowered his eyes. "You're saying even my father wasn't my real father?" Larissa screamed, her voice cracking. "Exactly." The woman lifted her chin. "The man who raised you was just a pawn. Your real father is here." She pointed toward someone in the crowd. A man stood up. Simple gray suit, graying hair, eyes down, hands shaking. "Mr. Amadi," Larissa whispered. "The gardener from Ruth's family." I never wanted to hide it," he said, his voice frail. "But I was forbidden, threatened. The guilt has eaten me alive, Larissa. All these years, all I ever wanted was to see you happy. That's all." The shouting started again. The hall spiraled into chaos. Cell phones up, people crying, others filming. Larissa collapsed to her knees, hands over her face. Everything was spinning, and in the middle of the confusion, Ruth vanished, slipped out through the back door. No one saw, except one person, the woman in the hat. She looked at Larissa one last time. "You have until midnight to choose a side. After that, nothing will be spared." Then she turned her back and walked away, slowly, leaving behind only the sweet scent of perfume and the bitter taste of truth. Larissa stayed on the floor, kneeling, staring into nothing. The perfume still lingered in the air, but now it stung her lungs like acid. Mr. Amadeu cried silently in a corner. Jack, gone. No one knew where he went. Then commotion, screams from the main entrance. 2 security guards dragging in a filthy, bloody man shouting incoherently, his eyes wide, unhinged. He looked drugged, but what he screamed made blood run cold. "She's gonna blow it up. She planted the damn case. She's gonna kill everyone." Instant panic. People jumping from their seats, knocking over tables, tripping over themselves. Larissa froze. She looked at the detective. He was already sprinting toward the sacristy, barking into his radio. "Check the altar. Any bag case, anything out of place." The hall exploded into madness, but Larissa couldn't move. That phrase still echoed in her mind. "You have until midnight." She glanced at a guard's wristwatch. 11:42 p.m. And then the lights went out. Pitch black. A scream. Someone tripped. Glass shattered. Whispers. Footsteps. Panic. Then a single beam of light, a flashlight. And at the center of the altar, a black suitcase. Still, silent, open. Inside, a phone. Screen lit. A countdown. 17 seconds. 16. Larissa ran. The detective ran with her, but before they could reach it, the phone vibrated. An incoming call. Caller ID. The detective stopped. "Don't answer it," he yelled. But Larissa, like hypnotized, already had. "Larissa," the voice on the other end said, calm and cold. "If you hang up, everyone here dies." Her eyes widened. "This isn't a test. It's not about revenge. It's about cleaning house." Larissa's breathing grew shallow. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you made the wrong choice. I warned you. You should have come with me." The countdown continued, even as the call remained active. The detective pulled his gun. "Throw it away, Larissa. Now." She didn't move, eyes fixed, locked in shock. "You don't understand. She can see everything. She's watching. Right now." The voice on the line laughed softly. "Good girl. Now, look to your left." Larissa turned. And there, in the side corridor, someone was watching. Jack, holding a remote in his hand, smiling, cold. "Jack?" she whispered, but he said only one word before vanishing into the darkness. "Sorry." Time froze. Just 1 second, but enough to make Larissa's heart pound like a war drum. She still had the phone to her ear. Her mother's breath hissed through the line, slow and satisfied. "This is just a warning, my love." The detective yanked Larissa's arm and hurled the phone across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. Silence. No explosion, but the fear stuck to their skin like cold sweat. The lights flickered back on. The hall was in ruins. Overturned chairs, people fainted, children crying. The guard who had dragged the bloody man in was now unconscious, and the man was gone. Larissa turned toward the corridor where Jack had vanished. "He had the remote," she murmured. The detective turned to her. "Jack was never who you thought he was." "He loved me," Larissa whispered. But even she didn't believe it. The detective exhaled deeply. "You want the whole truth?" She nodded, eyes red and burning. He reached into his blazer and pulled out a flash drive. "Before I was a detective, I was a federal agent. I investigated this organization for years. And Jack wasn't just a pawn." Larissa slowly turned toward him, like every word was another crack in her soul. "Jack is the biological son of the woman in the hat. Your half-brother." The world spun. Larissa staggered. "No," she gasped. "Yes. He knew who you were before he ever met you. He was sent to prepare you, to make you trust him, to make you fall in love." She collapsed to her knees, choking on disbelief. It was all a setup. The detective paused. "Not everything, but what he did to your father, that was real. Jack forged documents, planted evidence. He helped destroy your father's name." The floor beneath Larissa shattered, invisible but real. And then, a new explosion. Not inside. From far away. A deep, muffled. The windows trembled. A security guard burst in. "East Wing. The Marquez Foundation Community Hospital. It's been destroyed." Larissa jolted to her feet. "That's where my father died." The detective's eyes widened. "He died there?" "No." "Larissa, your father never died." She froze. "What do you mean?" He reached into his pocket again. Another envelope. Inside, a photo. Recent. And in the bottom corner of the photo, stamped with the date and time, 2 days ago. Larissa recognized the face. It was him. Alive, at the same hospital that now lay in ruins. She screamed. Loud. A scream no one could stop. And in that scream came the certainty. Someone knew he was alive. And someone had just silenced him. Maybe for good. Larissa stared at the photo in the detective's hand. Her father, alive, unshaven, in a hospital corridor. And now, maybe dead. Again. But what came next turned everything upside down. An alarm went off on the detective's phone. He grabbed his radio. "Talk to me." The voice on the other end was a terrified whisper. Just one sentence. "We found a body, but it's not her father." The detective froze. Larissa stood slowly, eyes still lost. "What do you mean? Not him?" Static. Then, the hospital wasn't attacked to kill, it was attacked to extract someone. The world stopped. Her father was alive, and he'd been taken. "Who took him?" the detective asked. The response crackled through. "It was Jack." Larissa stumbled backward. Her vision dimmed. "No, he wouldn't." But then, a new image appeared. On the cracked screen at the front of the hall. Nobody knew where the feed came from. It was a live video. A warehouse. The camera shaking. And there, tied to a chair, blood dried around his eyes, wounded and barely conscious, her father. Next to him, Jack, expressionless, cold, staring into the lens with a look Larissa had never seen before. The camera zoomed in. Jack began to speak. "Hi, Larissa. Surprise. I know you're watching. Because this, all of this, was for you." The entire hall went silent. "I gave you a chance. I gave you love. But you made your choice." His eyes were a void. "Now I make mine. Either you come, or he dies. Simple as that." The screen froze. A still image of her father, unconscious. Then it went black. Darkness again. Larissa gasped for air. The detective tried to speak, but she couldn't hear anything. Just her own heart pounding out of control. And then, something snapped in her mind. A detail. The voice. It wasn't just filled with rage. It was hurt. It was personal. She collapsed into a toppled chair, whispering, "Jack knew who my father was. He always knew." The detective crouched beside her. "Larissa, there's one more thing. I should have told you sooner." She looked up slowly. "Jack isn't just your mother's son. He's not your half-brother. He's your twin." The world shattered again. Time collapsed. Larissa couldn't breathe. "You're lying," she whispered. But he just shook his head. "You were separated at birth. Your father thought one of the babies had died, but he was taken, raised by her." The floor turned to smoke. The walls dissolved. Nothing made sense anymore. Then, another message came through the radio. New threat received. A marked location, an address, and one sentence. "She comes alone, or no one walks out alive." Larissa stood up, her face pale, her mouth dry, her eyes locked in place. "Take me to him," she said. "Larissa, it's a trap." She turned to him, firm. "Then let's fall into it together." The car tore through the city like a bullet. Larissa sat in the back seat. The detective gripped the wheel, eyes locked on the road. Distant sirens wailed like echoes of her heartbeat. 9 minutes, he said, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror. She didn't answer. She was silent, shaking. Her stomach twisted in knots. Everything hurt. "Larissa, if this is an ambush, I know," she cut him off. "But I have to see for myself." They arrived. An abandoned warehouse. Gates half open. Nothing moved. A heavy, suffocating silence. The kind that comes right before something terrible. The detective lifted his radio. "Unit 3, in position, ready for entry." No response. He tried again. Just static. Larissa stepped out of the car. "Larissa, wait." But she was already walking, each step dragging invisible weight. Her eyes were locked in. Determined. The warehouse door creaked. Inside, darkness, except for a single spotlight in the center, focused on the chair. And he was there. Her father, covered in blood, breathing weakly, but alive. "Dad," she cried. He lifted his head slowly. eyes struggling to focus. "Larissa, run. You weren't supposed to come." She took another step forward, but something on the ground made her stop. Wires, cables, a trap. The detective appeared behind her. "It's a trigger zone, heat sensors." "Maybe." Then, a sound. Clapping. Slow. Mocking. Jack. On the catwalk above. Backlit. Dark shirt. Empty eyes. "I knew you'd come." Larissa looked up at him, trembling with rage and pain. "Let him go, Jack. This isn't you." "Isn't it?" He laughed. "You think you know me? While you were getting chocolate biscuits at the orphanage, I was learning how to electrocute rats in a basement. I was raised in hell, Larissa." His voice didn't shake. It was dry. Dead. The detective drew his gun. "Enough, Jack. This ends now." Jack lifted a remote, but before anyone could react, a gunshot. Sharp. Clean. The detective dropped. Right between the eyes. Blood trickled from his forehead. Larissa screamed, but it wasn't Jack who fired. It was someone behind them. A woman, and when she stepped out of the shadows, Larissa nearly passed out. It was Ruth. But not just Ruth. She was pregnant. 8 months along. Maybe more. She smiled, crooked, cruel. "The child she always wanted is mine." Jack slowly descended from the catwalk, his face pale, eyes wide. "Ruth, what are you doing here?" She aimed the gun at him. "You thought I didn't know your precious mother's plan? That I was just another pawn? Well, now it's my turn." She turned the gun to Larissa. "And you took everything from me." The entire warehouse shook. Something had been activated. Then, a voice echoed through hidden speakers. A voice Larissa knew. Her own. Code triggered. Final sequence initiated. Ruth smiled wider. "She programmed the system with your voice. You didn't even know, did you?" Larissa froze. Jack stumbled backward. "You did this, Ruth." She laughed. "Me? No. Her." Jack looked at Larissa slowly, stunned, and whispered, You're the code." The ground trembled. Her father wept, and Larissa could only repeat in her mind, "Am I the code?" Her father's breathing was shallow, his chest rising and falling like a slow, broken drum. Larissa ran to him, fell to her knees, wiped the blood from his mouth. The detective was still alive, barely groaning on the floor. A flicker of hope. Jack stood frozen, ungrounded, staring at Ruth. She lowered the gun. Her visible belly told the truth. They were both exhausted. Strange accomplices in absolute chaos. Larissa held her father's hand. He squeezed back. "Survive," he whispered. Relief surged in her chest, but guilt followed. So heavy it nearly brought her to her knees. Ruth swallowed hard. "I'm done with all this," she said. Her voice cracked, but her eyes shone with resolve. "I want this to end." Jack took a deep breath. The mask slipped away. "It's over," he said. The truth was out. He dropped to his knees, placed his hands on his head. In surrender, his vulnerability was almost unbearable. Larissa's father closed his eyes. She collapsed onto his chest, murmuring relief and pain at once. In the silence that followed, sirens echoed outside. Police burst into the warehouse, sweeping the area. Only echoes of chaos and fragments of peace remained. Ruth was escorted out, her belly drawing curious glances. Jack stayed on the floor, head bowed, facing his future. The detective was treated, weak, but alive. Larissa stood, held her father's hand, and the look in his eyes gave her strength. They walked together toward the exit. A minute later, she turned around. Her gaze swept the scarred walls, marked by desperation and violence. A chapter had ended there, but their lives would go on. Different, heavy, but alive. Larissa clenched her fists in her pockets, took a deep breath, and smiled at her father. "Let's start over," she said. He nodded, tears in his eyes. The three of them stepped into the cold light of dawn, hand in hand, each carrying scars, but free to rewrite their story. Now you need to subscribe right this second, so you don't miss the next exclusive story drop. Smash that like button to help this reach more people. Flood the comments with your reactions, your wildest theories, and tell me what you think happens next. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Don't wait. Only true fans know the power of supporting creators with every click. This is just the beginning.